Call of Duty Zombies is a very special kind of game mode because it really is whatever you make of it. You can have a very different experience from someone else just based on how you decide to play it. This could potentially be a good or a bad thing depending on the situation. It's a good thing because that means everyone's going to have a unique experience, therefore you yourself can have very different experiences every single time you play. But it could also be a bad thing because you could be just not playing the optimal way that you should be in order to get the most amount of enjoyment out of the mode as possible. There are so many players that will be playing zombies for years and years and years and will never experience the kind of stuff you experience just because they choose to play a different way. And if you find yourself getting burnt out on Call of Duty Zombies and you're just not enjoying it anymore, please stick around for this video because I'm going to be giving you a bunch of different ways of how you could be enjoying zombies a lot more. Basically, I'm saying there might be a chance you're playing zombies wrong. Of course, at the end of the day, there really is no right or wrong way to play, at least generally speaking. You play however you enjoy playing. If you enjoy the way you're playing, you stick to that. You don't have to listen to me whatsoever. But if you're not enjoying it and you find yourself just getting bored frequently, then there is a possibility that the way you're playing is just not the best way that you could be playing COD Zombies. My first tip is to just simply play all of the games and all of the maps. And of course, this is only if you have the money to spend on that, or of course, if eventually these games come to Game Pass and you just want to try it out that way. But I'm not saying you should just go out and spend all your money on all these COD Zombies games that you might not own. But don't think that just because a lot of people don't enjoy certain games that you won't as well. There are so many people that hate on games like World War II Zombies, and therefore a lot of people don't even want to bother trying it, but you could definitely enjoy it. You can definitely get a lot out of the experience if you just give it a chance. I know for myself, I really enjoy World War II Zombies. I remember everyone was hating on Infinite Warfare Zombies when it was first out, yet I was sitting there enjoying it quite a bit. I know people are more favorable on it today, but back in the day, they were hating on it quite a bit. BO4 Zombies gets a lot of hate. I personally enjoy a lot of it, and I'm sure you have a lot of unpopular opinions yourself where there's certain maps you really love, whereas the majority of the community hates it. So there's a huge chance that these games that you're just forgetting about, you're not bothering to play whatsoever, you might actually really love them. But of course, be smart with your money. Don't just go out and spend it all on a bunch of stuff that maybe you're never going to end up playing again. But maybe do your research, look into some gameplay videos, and decide if maybe it looks like something that would be enjoyable to you. I'll give some of my own recommendations right here. If you really enjoy difficult and complex Easter eggs, I think COD World War II is definitely for you. You might actually get a lot out of it. Obviously, if you're not a fan of difficult and complex Easter eggs and you could prefer a much more laid-back experience, something like Cold War, then you probably don't want to get World War II Zombies. I don't really recommend Advanced Warfare Exo Zombies to anyone personally. I think it doesn't really do much right, but I do think it has still some enjoyable moments to it. If you're a very casual player that doesn't really care to do Easter eggs and usually doesn't like to play past round 15, then I think Exo Zombies is a perfectly fine experience. It's just once you get into the high rounds or you try doing some of the Easter eggs like Carrier and Descent, they're just not that great, at least in my opinion, but there is some fun to be had regardless. Infinite Warfare Zombies I would recommend to literally anyone. If you love complex Easter eggs, you'll probably love it. If you love simple Easter eggs, you'll probably love it because they have a good mix of like everything in the game. And even just for casual play, there is so much in Infinite Warfare Zombies. And I know a lot of people say, oh, only Spaceland's a good map in that game. But to be honest, I would recommend the DLC as well. The only DLC map that I think is not great would probably be the Beast from Beyond. But the other 3 DLC maps are a lot of fun. There's also a boss battle mode in Infinite Warfare. So if you don't feel like doing the Easter eggs, but you want to experience the boss fights, you can literally just play the boss fights themselves within the boss battle mode. Really cool stuff there. There are a lot of people who actually don't have Black Ops 4 Zombies. A lot of people only bought up to Black Ops 3 and then they skipped the next couple games and then bought Black Ops Cold War. But Black Ops 4, I would recommend to anyone that enjoyed Black Ops 3 but is okay with systems and gameplay that's quite different, because BO4 has a lot of the charm, the personality, the Easter eggs, all of that from BO3, but the gameplay systems are a bit different. They're quite a lot different. Obviously, the perk system is very different. The point system is very different. If you're okay with those changes and those aren't going to bother you, then I do think you could get a lot of enjoyment out of BO4 Zombies. There's a lot of content in BO4 Zombies as well. Even if you don't get the DLC, there's a lot of launch content there. So definitely you are going to have a lot of fun there. And just like I said for World War II Zombies, There are a lot of complex Easter eggs in BO4, so if you like those, you will definitely get a lot of fun out of BO4. But I think BO4 also has a lot of options for casual players. It's just if you're okay with those systems and you don't mind having different gameplay mechanics, then I do think you could get a lot out of this game. As for Vanguard, this is one I definitely don't recommend getting, but I do think Shinonuma Reborn and the Archon are actually decent experiences, and if you really like Cold War zombies and the gameplay flow of Cold War, I actually think you'll probably be fine with the Vanguard DLC maps. You know, I think Duranfang and Terra Modicta aren't that great, and I don't think most people would enjoy those, but for the round-based maps in that game, if you like Cold War zombie systems, they're pretty similar in Vanguard. Very, very similar. The Easter eggs are pretty similar as well. So I think you might enjoy that, but obviously there's just not a lot of content to Vanguard zombies, which is why it's kind of hard to warrant spending the money on it. But perhaps it'll come to Game Pass one day and then everyone can try it out. And I think that would be a decent opportunity to try out those maps. But like I said, not really recommended. And then lastly, there's Modern Warfare 3 Zombies, which I don't really love it, but I do think if you enjoy the aspect of open world zombies and you think there is something that could be cool out of that, then yeah, you're going to have some fun here. There's a lot to grind for, there's a lot to do for sure, and it is now on Game Pass and the B3, so you can just load it up if you have Game Pass and play it, and I think it has some fun to it, so I definitely would try it if you would like to. And that right there is a decent amount of maps that you could try out, a decent amount of official Call of Duty Zombies maps that I think would give you a lot more replay value from the COD Zombies mode in general. I mean, I don't think anybody can just sit there and play BO3 again and again and again. I'm sure a lot of people love doing that, but if you do feel like you're getting burnt out on that, it's a good idea to try out some other maps, because trust me, there are some maps that you will enjoy. I know so many people get stuck up in the idea that, you know, so many people hate these maps, so why would I like them? But that's just not how it works. Again, keep in mind, you are a different person. You are an individual person. Your opinions are going to be different than everyone else's. Just because everyone says that this one map is bad does not mean you're going to think it's bad too. So I recommend trying these out, trying them out for yourself, just seeing how they are, and perhaps you will like them, or at least look at some gameplay of them, and maybe you can decide from there whether or not you want to go ahead and actually buy them. I would also highly recommend Black Ops 3's custom zombies. There's so many custom maps to play, and a lot of them are similar in quality to official zombies maps that have been made by Treyarch or these other studios. Like quite a bit actually, like probably like 30 plus maps that are similar in quality. And then there's like hundreds of other maps that maybe aren't close to quality with the official maps, but are still just really fun to play and mess around with. So I definitely recommend it if you have a PC, and you don't really need that great of a PC either. You can use a pretty crappy PC and still run BO3 just fine. I think you have to turn down some of the graphic settings, but you can still definitely load it up and have fun with it, and it's highly recommended. It's easy to do as well. It's not like complicated whatsoever. You just buy the game on Steam, and then there's the Steam Workshop, and it literally will have any custom map you want. You could just download the map, and boom, you can go play it. Like, it's that simple, and it's fun. Like I said, a lot of fun. I also highly recommend playing all of the content available to you in all of these games and on all of these maps. A lot of people get so comfortable with the way they play zombies, and there's nothing wrong with that. If you absolutely love the way you play and you don't really care about the other stuff, that's fine. But if you are feeling kind of burnt out and you're feeling like there's really not enough to zombies, believe me, there is a lot more to zombies than you probably even know. Again, like I said before, Call of Duty Zombies is built in a way where a lot of the content is hidden or something you have to go out of your way to actually do. And I get a lot of people don't enjoy that sort of gameplay flow, but it's just the way the mode is built. And once you actually do try to go out your way to do these things, you can actually have a lot of fun with it. I do think it's worth doing, or at least trying, because it can completely change the way you experience this mode. So for example, I think main Easter eggs are obviously a must. I think a lot of people are now getting into main Easter eggs now that, you know, Cold War made them a bit easier, and therefore a lot of people were starting to do them in that game, and then they went back to the prior games to actually do them, which I really like to see that. I think that's cool that a lot of people are going back to like BO4, BO3 to do the Easter eggs that they've never done before. There's also plenty of side Easter eggs. Believe me when I say there are so many side Easter eggs, especially in the games Black Ops 2 and onward. BO2, BO3, BO4 especially. There's a couple in Infinite Warfare, there's some in World War II, there's some in these other games as well. Cold War has some, but there are so many that you might not even know exist. And trust me, there are so many guides out there, so many different ways of figuring them out, and I will kind of explain that in this video, but trust me, there are so many you've probably never heard of, and I definitely recommend at least trying them because they could change the way you experience these maps quite a bit. There's also lots of challenge and grinds in all these games you can do. Obviously the camo grinds. I know not everyone's into the camo grind, but I do think it kind of gives you a different way to experience the mode, at least a little bit. And there's also other grinds beyond just the camo grinds in these games. A good example is in Infinite Warfare. There's all these weapon variants you can get and try out. There's so many weapon variants in that game, and they make the mode a lot different when you actually get them. For example, the Mauler Sentinel is such an amazing weapon and completely changes how I do those Easter eggs, because it's like a must gun. It just demolishes the boss zombies so much faster than any other weapon could. There's also plenty of separate game modes you can try out. I know a lot of people didn't even bother to play Black Ops 4's Gauntlet mode, myself included. Like, I didn't put a lot of time into Gauntlet. I should have, to be honest, because whenever I did try it out, I had fun with it. And I know it's definitely, not fun for every single map, and there's definitely some challenges that are kind of annoying and tedious, but it's just something extra to at least try. Even if you don't end up enjoying it, it's worth trying because you might enjoy it eventually. Another big tip I have is don't be afraid of guides. And I know a lot of players, they just hate the idea of watching a YouTube guide for anything in zombies or looking it up on Google. They don't want to see any of that. They just want to hop in, kill some zombies, and that's all. And that's fine. I understand that. But if you want to try some new things in zombies, you want to do Easter eggs, you want to do side Easter eggs, yes, for most of them, you're gonna have to look up a guide. But here's the important thing to keep in mind. Once you learn how to do it, and once you maybe do it once or twice, it may eventually become muscle memory to you. Not all of them, but some of them, you will learn it enough to the point where you don't need to continuously look up a guide every time you want to do it. You're just learning it once, which honestly doesn't take that long. I mean, you don't have to watch like the longest guide on YouTube. There are many YouTube channels that have made short guides for most tutorials. There's also plenty of good sites that have good tutorials. For example, the app Chronos is a great app that has guides for pretty much everything in zombies. So if you just want to quickly read through it, you can do it like that. It's not that hard. And once you do it once or twice, you're probably going to be fine. A great example is the Zetsubou no Shima Spider-Bait quest. A lot of players have never done that before because they don't feel like trying to learn it. But trust me, you would have a lot more fun playing Zetsubou no Shima if you have the Spider-Bait. So I think it's worth trying. I know a lot of people, like I said, they have this sort of idea that guides are like the worst thing ever, but trust me, getting over that hurdle, you will then now have a really cool thing to use on that map, and it could make you enjoy the map a lot more. And even for stuff you already know how to do, there are so many shortcuts you may have never even known about, and to the point where there's a lot of Easter egg steps that are so much easier once you learn the shortcuts. Just as a quick example, the Alpha Omega clock step, the one where you have to input the clock codes, that's one that a lot of players don't enjoy because they have to write down all the different codes when they're listening to it through the TV, and I can understand why that might be kind of frustrating. But if you know that there are actually not that many different possible combinations for the clock codes, there's actually like I think 8 different ones that it could be. And if you have the sheet of the actual combinations, what they could be, then you will know every single time what the full combination is just after the first code. That's all you need. You just need the first time, that's it, and then you know the rest of it. And therefore, this makes the step so much easier. And yes, this will require you to look this stuff up, but trust me, it is worth it. And this is kind of another tip I'm going to give you for the certain steps throughout, Easter eggs or side quests that perhaps you will not ever be able to memorize because it's a very specific thing. For example, the Origins Ice Staff codes, you're probably not going to memorize the translations for that. You're probably not, and that's fine. But as long as you keep the image of the cheat sheet somewhere, like whether it's in a folder on your phone or on your computer, somewhere where you can easily grab it within like 2 seconds, which is what I do. I actually have a Discord server for myself, and I have every single map listed out in the server with a bunch of different images that are required for that map. So whenever I'm doing the map, I just pull up that Discord server and just go to it. It takes literally 2 seconds for me to do that, and therefore I will always have that cheat sheet with me. I don't have to look up a Mr. Off Waffles tutorial every time I want to do it. Although there's nothing wrong with doing that, but if you don't feel like doing that or you don't feel like looking it up on Google, then just have it saved somewhere that you can easily access it, and it'll be a lot easier. Also, keep a pen and paper nearby. I know a lot of people don't like doing that as well, but again, it will make a lot of these steps so much easier because then you don't have to memorize some long code or you don't have to memorize some symbol that you see. You could just write it down, and therefore you are now going to, be able to do the step without having to have a picture perfect memory. It just makes things so much easier, and I get it might be frustrating for some people, but is getting a piece of paper and a pen that difficult? In my opinion, it's really not. And the last tip I have actually has to do with the first time you play a map. This doesn't really apply to a map that you've already played a bunch. It's only for your first time playing. Don't look up a guide right away. I know a lot of people have this idea where they just don't want to have to solve anything on their own. So they want to immediately look up a Pack-a-Punch guide, a Wonder Weapon Quest guide, and basically just learn the entire map before they even jump into it. I think that's a terrible idea. Part of the fun in zombies is trying to solve things for the first time and being surprised by certain things. That's exactly what I'm going to be doing when I jump into Black Ops 6, of course. I'm sure there's going to be guides that will go up pretty early on within the first day of the game being out, but I'm not looking up any of those things. I'm going to be doing the stuff myself and trying to solve it, probably on stream with you guys, and we could talk about it in the comments. But I'm going to try that myself because I think it's more fun that way. I think it's more fun discovering things on my own. And if I can't, if there comes to a certain point where there are certain things I just physically can't figure out on my own, then I will look up a guide. I use that as like a last resort, and I think that makes the experience just so much better. And that's all I have to say for this video. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. I just wanted to make these points because I think a lot of players will maybe get a lot more out of the zombies mode if they do these things. And I know there's a lot of people who don't even bother interacting with Easter eggs or side Easter eggs, but I really do think it's worth doing. And all these other things are definitely worth at least trying so you can maybe get into it just a little bit more than maybe you were already before. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. I will see you on my next one. Peace out.